Alright, hello everyone. How are we all doing this week? Let me know, as always, if you need more or less of anything, let me know how it sounds to you guys. So yeah, it's Wednesday again. That was a very fast week, wasn't it? Hey Dennis, good to see you here. Hope you're doing good. Always nice to see you here nice and early. So this week, I've had a few requests to talk about this thing, which is a bit of a different type of guitar than we usually talk about. So yeah, today we're going to be talking a little bit about some acoustic stuff to start off with, and then, as usual guys, we can take this wherever we choose to go. As you guys know the rules, once we've gotten any formalities out the way, we can do what we want. So yeah, posting up on Instagram this week about what you guys wanted to talk about, and a few people asked for some acoustic based stuff, so yeah, hence why I'm holding this thing. I don't play much acoustic. I don't know if we've got any big acoustic aficionados out there in the chat. I have always kind of shied away from acoustic, really, mainly because I guess all my favourite players and most of my favourite styles have always been more electric guitar driven, and acoustic guitar I found is something that I've really gotten into more in kind of recent months and recent years. Maybe the last 2 years I've made a little bit more of an effort to actually try and play acoustic more, because I'm sure anyone who has tried to transition from electric to acoustic will know they're slightly different beasts. So the acoustic has always kind of evaded me slightly. Like anything on with guitar, you're always on a bit of a quest to get better and to improve what you do, and this is my Achilles heel at the moment. So yeah, acoustic is kind of the focus of today. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about acoustic playing. Hey to everyone in the chat, the JE55, is that the Jess? Hey, good to see you here. Amped Wales, how's it going? Good to see you here as always, and House of Maximus is here as well. So yeah, I had a big question over on Instagram about easy acoustic guitar songs for newer players who are sort of transitioning from the beginner stage into more of a sort of upper beginner intermediate sort of stage. So I'd like to throw that question over to everyone in the chat today, both on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm keeping an eye on the Facebook questions on my phone. Yeah, what kind of beginner acoustic guitar songs do you guys recommend? I've got a few that I always show people whenever they're sort of new to playing, but I'm always interested to find out what other people think are great kind of beginner or sort of not super entry level, but you've been playing a while and you're just trying to take your playing to that next level. So the person that asked is Hannah over on Instagram. She asked for specifically stuff with arpeggios, or preferably stuff with arpeggios. So if you guys have got anything with some arpeggiated chords in there, that would be really good as well. So I've got a few, and one of them has actually just been mentioned there by Amped Wales. So Knocking on Heaven's Door is a great one. So if you're new to playing guitar, Knocking on Heaven's Door is usually one of the first songs I teach people, because it's 3 chords, G, D, and C, and you can play it really simply just with chords. But that one also translates really well to doing a more complex version of with arpeggios. So obviously that's kind of loosely based on the typical Bob Dylan style of playing it. You can also play this in the style of Guns N' Roses, which fits that arpeggiated chord sort of reference really nicely. Same chords, but this time we'd be arpeggiating the chords. one thing acoustic guitar does for me is it really highlights sloppy playing. So there's a couple of weird notes in there, as you guys probably heard. I need to practice acoustic more. You can't hide behind an acoustic, I think. If you're playing anything on acoustic guitar, every little thing is under the microscope. You can't get away with hiding behind a wall of overdrive with acoustic. But yes, that's a good arpeggiated, sort of upper beginner, intermediate style acoustic part. The Guns N' Roses version of Knockin' on Heaven's Door. If you're trying to play along with the record, it's going to be tuned down a half step, so E flat to E flat, everything down a semitone. This guitar is standard-ish today. I haven't actually tuned it today, but it's in tune for the purpose. Leon prefers electric, but makes an effort to learn acoustic because it's about the only thing that I get to play in front of family and friends. Acoustic's great as well though, because you don't have to set anything up. You could just pick up your acoustic and just play whatever you want and it sounds great. The acoustic is a nice, you know, grab and go style guitar, I think. House of the Rising Sun, yeah, that's a good one, Barry. House of the Rising Sun, I should know, but I always forget the order of the chords. And it's really annoying because it's one of those songs that I know I've learned like 100 times. And for some reason, I just can't remember the chords. So I'm going to look those up right now because that is a really good one for arpeggios. And while that is loading, let's see what else we've got going on there. Unlike No Spark, hey, hope you're good. Yes, I am good, thank you. Hope you're good as well. Dennis, you're coming in great. That's good to know. All or Nothing by the Small Faces is another good one. I'm not familiar with that one. Probably not a good thing, but I need to check that one out. But I don't know that one. I've never checked that one out before. First proper song I played on acoustic was Good Riddance by Green Day for my music GCSE. It's a good one, interesting strumming patterns and some arpeggiated-ish bits. Yeah, that's a good point because that one kind of crosses the line between... Right, let me see if I can remember this now. It's G, C and D, isn't it? So yeah, that's a really good example of a song that has both strumming and arpeggios in there. So that again, G, C and D, same chords as Knockin' on Heaven's Door, except this time we're doing the C add 9, the 80s C. And yeah, it's basically the same kind of vibe. 2 strums and then you can kind of be as accurate or as loose as you want with that arpeggio, which is quite nice too. Whenever I do it, I just sort of, I don't focus too much on specifically picking the strings. I just kind of, almost just like, you know, kind of micro strumming. So you're not really picking out specific strings, you're just glazing through them. But yeah, that's a really good suggestion for someone who is looking for an easy-ish acoustic song that isn't super difficult. Yeah, I like that one. That's a good choice. That's nice because it kind of takes you from just standard strumming to that next level as well. You'll know it if you hear it, Famous Chords. Yeah, I need to look into that one. The Small Faces are a band that I've never really spent that much time really familiarizing myself with. Obviously, I know like a few of the sort of the big ones, as it were, but apparently not that big one. But yeah, maybe I need to check that one out. Jolene has the country strumming style too. Yeah, Jolene is a good one. Capo on the 4. This is one I haven't played for a long time. I always used to play this as the more complex version, like with the... I haven't played that in a while. but you could simplify that to you kind of got to have that hammer on there, haven't you? And then something like that, isn't it? I really haven't played that one in a long time. You've just reminded me of that one. Glad you are. I am okay, thank you. That's good to hear. CGM 926. Hope you're well. I'm very good, thank you. Hope you're good as well. Joanne is challenging. Oh my god, Jolene. Yeah, autocorrect always catches people out, especially with a word like Jolene, because I guess most of our sort of smartphones probably don't recognize that as a very common thing to type. So yeah, seeing that autocorrected to Joanne is probably quite a common problem I think people have. So one I came up with, because the reason I'm bringing this up is because Hannah asked me over on Instagram and I said I'd put a list together. So another one I came up with is Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd. So again, I always look for these kind of songs when I'm teaching people these kind of things. I always look for them to be, you know, 3 chords, maybe 4 chords maximum. You don't want to overcomplicate the chord side of it, because when people are kind of transitioning from that beginner to the next level sort of phase of their playing, you don't want them to be doing too many different things with both hands. And if the sole focus is getting into arpeggiated chords, if this hand can do something really simple, it frees up a lot of brain power to deal with this hand. So again, 3 chords, C, G. The good thing with this is you don't actually have to play it as a full G, because if you're playing this as the arpeggiated version, you actually only need to play the lower notes of the G chord. So if you're going from the C, you could just do that. So that's really good for people who are new to chord changes. And there's an A minor in there that we extend with the G on top as well. So yeah, this is a great one if you're getting into arpeggios as well. It's got that little run, open, 2 and 3 on the A string. That wasn't the right note. That. Yeah, Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd. That's a good fun one for arpeggios as well. Lucky Man by The Verve and Help by the Beatles. Everybody Hurts by R.E.M. Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of arpeggios in that one, isn't there? I don't know how to play that one, but yes, I know it's arpeggiated. House of the Rising Sun. I looked up the chords for that one. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So it's A minor, C, D, F, A minor, E, A minor, E. So this is arpeggiated. This has got this kind of arpeggiated sweep where you sort of pick. You're sort of sweeping the chord rather than individually arpeggiating the notes other than the root. And then you're arpeggiating 3 on the way down. Tell I haven't played that one in a while as well. But yes, that's a really good one. can't believe I'm the first to mention Wonderwall. You're not, Leon, unfortunately. I hate to break it to you. A good friend of mine called Chris Allen, if he's watching, he's a great drummer, and I asked for acoustic guitar recommendations, and he came up with that one. That one is forbidden. Everyone's played that one way too much. But yeah, definitely, I agree with Wonderwall being forbidden. I am fed up of playing that song. The amount of gigs that I still have to play that one on. I play it all the time, and every night it doesn't get any easier. It never, yeah, it just doesn't. Metallica, Mama Said. I actually had a Metallica song on my sort of list of good kind of beginner to intermediate acoustic songs, which is surprisingly Nothing Else Matters. This isn't so much arpeggiated chords with the pick, but obviously it's more of a fingerstyle thing. Now that intro alone is great for players who are just kind of getting going with fingerstyle, because what it really teaches you is independence on the fingers. I mean, obviously you could play with a pick, but then you're kind of defeating the point of it being fingerstyle. So 3 fingers, 1, 2 and 3 on the G, B and E, thumb on the low E. It's a great exercise in its own right, just because you can could do that for ages just to train your finger independence. That's a really fun one, and it's not too hard. I think someone who's kind of transitioning from beginner to intermediate would probably be able to give that one a fair shot. Leon did say maybe, because that's obviously the first line from the chorus of Wonderwall. He's desperate to hear more of that one, isn't he? Stairway. Stairway's a good one. Probably maybe a bit too advanced for the sort of level that we're aiming this at, but it is a good one. Obviously, when you get into more advanced chords, Stairway's a great one. I'm going to play it now because I'm not in a guitar shop, so it doesn't matter. That was a bad chord. I never play that one the way that it's actually written on the album. I always find that I do these little embellishments from different live versions that Page has done. On the record, he starts that first A minor arpeggio going straight up. But live he always doubles it with a high A string, or the high A note from the E string. And that's where I got this bit from. That's a live embellishment. But yeah, that's a really good one for people who are just getting into acoustic, or sort of looking to, not just getting into acoustic, but kind of progressing maybe from intermediate up. Stairway's a really good one. Especially because you've got a couple of really interesting chords in there. Like obviously we're playing sort of triad-esque chords here. A minor. That chord that no one really knows the name of. There's many different videos online where people try and debate what this is, but no one's really come up with a conclusive idea yet of what they think that chord is. And then you've got this C chord, a D with a F sharp in the bass, and an A minor 7. So slightly more complex chords, and then obviously it kicks in when the strumming part starts. So that's great for when you start really ramping up your practice and you get into that kind of intermediate level, because that song will teach you a lot about chords. Fade to Black verse is pretty good. Yeah, there's a couple of cool, because again, the chords in that verse aren't that difficult. The rhythm is quite tricky, but the chords aren't super difficult. Sweet Home Alabama, that was also on my list actually. Again, D, C, and G. I love those three chords together. So Sweet Home Alabama, D major, C add 9, and G. Some of the kind of licks in that are slightly trickier, but I mean, a beginner and intermediate player would at least be able to get into the arpeggiated feel of and just kind of double up on that G chord. But then obviously as you progress, you can add in those little... Everyone always plays that lick. They go to the second fret. Or is the second fret the right fret? I did a video on this on the PMT YouTube channel where I taught the correct way to play this riff, and for the life of me I can't remember what the correct way is. I think the second fret is the correct fret, and what everyone does is they play that C note. But I'm sure the correct note is the B. Maybe I'm wrong. I need to go rewatch my own video on that one. But yeah, that's a really good choice. To be fair, I only know the intro. A lot of guitar players don't even learn intros because sometimes that's all you need to learn. One I like for practicing fingerstyle is More Than Words. That's a good choice because again, pretty simple chords. Can't remember how to play it though. And that's as much as I remember of that one. But yes, that is a good one for practicing fingerstyle because you've got the bass note and high with the slap in there as well. Hotel California, that is Arpeggio City. It's so complex. There's so many chords in that one. Especially if you play, I mean obviously the full version with the capo up at the 7. That's where the real arpeggio fun starts. And again, forgotten that one. A minor? That song is probably up there for having more chords than any other song, I think. It's just got every chord in there all at once. And obviously there's two different guitar parts. So one guitar is playing those chords with the capo at the 7th fret. And then there's different versions of this where you can play with the capo on the 2 or just with bar chords. That should be major. That's not right. Something like that. Something along those lines. But yeah, that is very hard for an intermediate song. Literally just double tap my desk at the end of that Hotel California riff. I think you have to. I think you've got to... oh, it's E to F, isn't it? E to F sharp. You've got to get that double tap in there. That's that's an essential part, I think, of the entire song. So yeah, that's a pretty good list actually, I think, of kind of beginner, upper beginner, intermediate songs where nothing there is too easy. It's all stuff that kind of gives you that little bit of a challenge and kind of pushes you to that next level. I think it's quite hard to find songs that really serve that purpose, because if you look up lists of, you know, beginner guitar songs, you get the usual suspects, you know, the same 10 songs that we see all the time. And sometimes it's nice to just have a beginner or sort of upper beginner sort of song that's got a bit of a challenge to it. I also realised someone called for Freebird as well. Freebird is not super difficult as a song, but you can have a lot of fun with it because there's a lot of things you can do with it. You can make it arpeggiated. The original's not actually arpeggiated, I don't think, but you can kind of have some fun with that one. And then obviously when you're ready to kick it up, we can get to the fun bit, the 8-minute guitar solo. That's always the most fun part about playing Freebird, is the 8-minute guitar solo. Because why not? Why wouldn't you want to play a guitar solo for 8 minutes? Oh, I meant Under the Bridge is very tricky to do right. Sorry, I missed that one. Yeah, that is a tricky one. I mean, I wouldn't even probably class that as intermediate as such. I would probably put Under the Bridge being closer to more advanced playing, because it's kind of based around caged voicings. I can't even remember to play it. But yeah, I know it starts with that kind of, it's a D major chord but played in the form of a C with a bar. And then there's something with the thumb that I can't remember that next part, but yeah, that is a pretty tricky one. Scar Tissue's a good one for when you start playing fingerstyle. Yeah, that is a good one. Goes down there somewhere. Something like that. C. You guys are testing my memory now, because I'm trying to remember songs now that I haven't played for a very long time. My favourite scene in Forrest Gump. Chris Isaak, Wicked Game is a good beginner tune. Yeah, again, 3 chords. I think it's like B minor, A and E. Something like that. F major and D minor. I think it... Does it pass through the C, or am I making that up? Maybe I made that bit up, I can't remember. I haven't heard that song in a long time. Lots of legato. Yeah, I mean, John Frusciante's great at that, because it's all from... It's the Hendrix school of kind of rhythm playing. Like, you watch Hendrix and he's never just strumming a chord. He's always doing something a little bit kind of funky or a little bit out there. And that's kind of where Frusciante gets a lot of inspiration with the voicings from, because you're playing this C chord, well, it's a D chord but in the form of a C, and then these little kind of rundowns inside of that chord. and then it goes, I'm sure it goes to something with an F sharp. But I can't remember exactly what he's doing on that chord. Those examples, some of those examples are also really good for learning to use a capo. Yeah, do you know, learning a capo is, learning how to use a capo properly is something a lot of guitar players never really look into. And this thing has saved my life so many times. Because if you have a basic understanding of music theory and how chord progressions work, this thing is an invaluable tool. I take this to every single gig I play because, and you 9 times out of 10 you know what you're doing before you step on stage, but I mean, I've been in situations where I've been on a gig with a singer and they've literally decided before the song that they want to change the key of it, and instead of having to rework out the entire chord progression on the spot by memory, capo saves my life so much. Because yeah, when people want to change keys, that thing is an invaluable tool. So yeah, learning to use a capo I think is also a really good piece of advice for anyone who's just getting started. Not just knowing how to use one as in, you know, you put it on and then you play chords, but actually understanding what you can do with a capo I think is really important. That's something that a lot of players never really think about, but it can really save you. It can, you know, let's say we're playing Knocking on Heaven's Door in the key of G major. But I'm on a gig tonight with a singer who can't sing in the key of G major, and they want to sing in the key of C major. So I mean, that is, it's a 1-5-4 progression in the key of G, so it's G, D, and C. I could quite easily go, okay, it's going to be C, G, and F. But the problem I have now is, because of the voicings of those chords, it doesn't sound like Knocking on Heaven's Door anymore. So if I know I'm playing a G chord as my first point of call, rooted from a G note. If I root my G chord from a C note, which is the 8th fret, my open string would now be the 5th fret. So if I put my capo on that, and then I play my G, D, and C chords, that's miraculously now C, F, or C, G, and F. And I can maintain the feel of that song. So yeah, anyone who's a new player, get one of these and learn how to use it. Invaluable. It'll save your neck many times. Civil War by Guns N' Roses. Yes, that's a good arpeggio song. Played that wrong. Great, because it's just E minor, G, and it's an F sharp over D, but you're only actually playing the 2nd fret on the G and the 2nd fret on the low E. You can play that as, you know, with your fingers. My instinct is thumb all the time. It's kind of like the Frusciante thing. It's the Hendrix thing. It's that idea of, like, you know, why go? See, I went to do it automatically then. Why go when I can go? It's a much smaller move to use my thumb. So yeah, the thumb thing is a big thing for me. So you'll probably see me do that a lot as well. If you notice when I'm playing chords in videos, I'm always doing the Hendrixy thing. I don't tend to play your sort of regular bar chords. I play them in that kind of triad and thumb sort of style, like Hendrix, Frusciante, Stevie Ray, Mayer. Everyone's done that, but Hendrix I think is the guy that kind of brought that to everyone's attention. Hysteria, yeah, that's a great arpeggiated thing. Again, simple chords on the surface, but Def Leppard have their own kind of voicings on that. So obviously we're playing like a D chord from that C caged idea there, but we're dropping the fifth. If we're going theory geek here, that note there would be the fifth. We're dropping that by a full tone to the 4 of the major scale, so it's kind of like a D sus4. Then we're playing we're adding this G in the bass, and this kind of makes it like a G major 7, but we're not playing a major note. So it's kind of like a G major 7, but without the major third. And then we've got the E minor add 9. That's a lovely chord. Really mysterious. And the E major add 9. Those are really like fun sounding chords. But yeah, D sus2, D sus4, G major 7, and E minor add 9. So really it's D, G and E. D major, G major and E minor. But yeah, arpeggios. Love that chord progression. Scarborough Fair, not sure others play it, but I always arpeggiate it. I've taught that once or twice to students years ago when I was doing graded exams for students, but I haven't actually played that one in a long time. But yeah, that's probably a good one as well. I don't know what the chords for Scarborough Fair are though. But yeah, I think acoustic is just such a fun thing that I definitely need to play more. I always enjoy playing acoustic, and yeah, I just don't do it enough. One of the Stereo sounds good, added it to my must learn list. It's a great one. It's really good for just like getting used to picking, and it's nice because it's got some different chord voicings in there. So it's a little bit different for, you know, instead of just playing your standard chords as it were, you can actually dig into some more interesting voicings. So it sounds more interesting as well. Just realised I missed a comment there from Peter Grant as well. Good to see you here, Peter. I'll just stick with my plectrum. Never got on with finger picking at all. Do you know, I didn't until a few years ago. Finger picking for me was, I just couldn't get on with it. I grew up just playing rock. So finger picking was not even in the equation for me. And I really got into it when I got into John Mayer, because I realised that there was not just a different style of playing, but it was a tonal thing as well. Now obviously it's true on acoustic as well as electric, but if we're playing with a pick, we get that pick attack. But when we're playing with our fingers, there's a different dynamic to it. So yeah, it took me a while to get into finger picking. If it's something you're interested in learning, I think a good way to do it is just to play things you already play, but with your fingers. That's pretty much what I did. I was just learning to do things like just riffs that I played for years, and chord progressions, arpeggios, you know. Just learning to play those kind of things without a pick, and then you just kind of develop your own style with finger picking. There's a formal way to learn finger picking, and then there's a really informal way, and I've always been more on the informal side of that. You can take it as serious as you want. I tend to do most of my finger picking with the thumb and the index finger. People will say when you finger pick, the way you're meant to do it is you're meant to have these 3 fingers tied to the G, B and E, and your thumb's meant to cover the bass notes, and your hand's meant to sit in this kind of position. my finger picking is this. So I actually pick behind my thumb, which is, I mean, if we go down the the educational route, that's wrong, but that's just the way I've done it, because it's when I'm using the pick, I can put the pick into my hand, and my index finger kind of naturally sits here, where I can grab my pick back out. So yeah, it's one of those things. I think everyone can kind of figure out their own style with it. It's just, if it's a style that kind of talks to you, you can use it as a tonal thing, which is what I do. I don't finger pick things as a finger picking rule. I just use it when I want a different sound. I like it for lead guitar as well, so if I'm playing like bluesy stuff, with your fingers you can get a different attack on that. Because you can get under the notes and you can kind of pop those strings, which you can't do when you're playing with the pick as well. If you really want to have fun playing acoustic, get a baritone. Everything sounds like it's from a film soundtrack. I really want a baritone. I love the sound of baritones, and every time I've played one I've had a lot of fun. I just fear that if I bought one I wouldn't get the use out of it that it deserves. I feel the same about 12 strings. I love the sound of a 12 string acoustic, and every time I play one it's a really interesting sound. I like the sound of it, and it's a lot of fun. But if I owned one, would I use it as much as I should? Probably not. And that's kind of the same as baritones. Like, I really want a baritone because they're just so much fun to play, but then I just kind of feel that I would get one, use it, you know, relentlessly for 6 weeks, and then it would just kind of sit on the rack and not get used, which would be a shame. I love James Taylor, and he's got a really interesting style, great for someone who sings like me. That's a great one there, Joseph. Thanks for that suggestion. I know you're a big fan of James Taylor because I remember you mentioned him not that long ago. James Taylor is a great fingerpicking style player. I'm not even going to pretend that I can play anything of his. I'm going to leave that one to the experts like Joseph over there. I'm not going to go any of the James Taylor fingerpicking. I would definitely ruin that one. My my kind of fingerpicking introduction, I guess, came from like blues as well. That's about the peak of where I am as a fingerpicker. I'd love to be better at fingerpicking because I see some players that could just do insane stuff. I really like those players who can play like chords and melodies simultaneously. That I just can't do that. I can do a bad impression of the John Mayer thing. That kind of, you know, sort of playing chords with the percussive. But that is about where I sort of limit myself as a fingerstyle player. I didn't put any effort into that at all when I was younger, which is, I kind of regret that now. Now that I'm, you know, at the point I am now, I kind of wish I'd put a bit more time into it years ago, because I do really like the sound of acoustic, and it is inspiring. I think when you play a nice acoustic, like I've had the pleasure of playing some really lovely high-end acoustics over the years, and there's just something about it when you know, we all love electric guitar, that's why we're all here, but sometimes you just pick up a really well-made acoustic and you just do that, and there's just something that kind of aligns, I think. This is a good acoustic though. Sigma, I can't remember the model name, it's a triple OME. I always preferred these Martin style acoustics over the kind of the Gibson Jumbos. This is sort of like the OM style Martin, but Sigma, who used to be a subsidiary of Martin in, I believe, the 70s up to about the 80s, and then they sort of went off as their own company, but they still do all the Martin licensed designs. This is actually a really affordable guitar. This is like £250 in the UK, I think these retail for. I got this really because I just wanted a guitar that looked like this. I wanted the visuals of a Martin OM without having to spend £2,000, because I didn't have £2,000, still don't have £2,000 to spend on a Martin real OM. So really I just wanted the look, because I love the look of them. And this was actually really surprising. It came and I was actually really kind of blown away by how good it was. Like, I knew that Sigma guitars were good. You know, they're a company that people have always given good reviews to, and people have always spoken highly about them. But when I actually got it, it was like, okay, this is actually way better than I thought it was going to be. The only thing I've done is, that's not the original scratch plate. There was just a plain black one on there. So I changed it because I like the look of that. It's nice as well because it's like a, if I just catch the light, it's a matte finish, so there's no gloss on it. It's really nice. It just sort of feels good to play. And I gig with this thing all the time as well. It's really fun. Sigma are lovely guitars, extremely good value. I recently got myself an Andrew White guitar and I'm bowled over by it. I'm not familiar with Andrew White guitars. I will have to check those out. I play acoustic whilst I wait for the dog to do his business when it's nice out. Do you take the acoustic out with you though? That's the big question there. Does the acoustic guitar go on the dog walks with you? Because again, that's the benefit to an acoustic. You can just pick it up and take it with you. You can't take a Marshall stack out on a dog walk with you. Well, I mean you could, but you'd probably get some strange looks. But an acoustic, you could literally pick it up and take it with you and, yeah, take it out and walk the dog. That's obviously well in the realms of possibility that you could do that. One other thing I did have a question about when it comes to acoustic, I'm just pulling it up on my phone, is recording acoustic guitar. So someone asked me about recording techniques for acoustic guitar. And because it was, the story post was just over 24 hours ago now, Instagram isn't showing me who asked me that question. So if you're here and you asked me about recording acoustic guitar, we're going to talk about that. I'm just trying to find out if I can find the name of the person that did ask me. But Instagram archive your stories within 24 hours, and that's seemingly what's happened here. They've archived it literally since we've been on the live stream. Aha, okay. So it was Aditya. Aditya asked me for some advice about recording acoustic guitar. So this is, again, great topic, very subjective topic. There's a load of different ways to do this, depending on what type of sound you want. First thing when it comes to recording acoustic guitar is microphone choice. That's very important. So different types of microphones will obviously give you different results. Obviously, the obvious is if you're going to be recording acoustic, it needs to be in a quiet space. Acoustic is obviously an acoustic instrument. Part of the sound is the environment that the guitar is played in. So if you're playing in, let's say you're recording at home, for instance, and the room you're in for your recording session, whatever you're doing, is next to a busy road, you're going to pick up background noise. If you're living in a house with a bunch of noisy people, you don't want them shouting on your acoustic guitar track. So obviously having a good quiet space to record acoustic is very important. Now, the easiest way, if you can't avoid background noise, if you have an electroacoustic, it will have a pickup under the bridge saddle. So this guitar does. This guitar has a built-in Sigma pickup. Plug it in right there with a jack cable, and then there's a contact pickup underneath the bridge saddle, which will basically function like an electric guitar. Now the problem with recording acoustic that way is it never really sounds that great. It's a functional way to do things, and I mean for gigging it works for gigs, but it's functional more than it is you know, authentic. It's just a good way to get your acoustic heard. Most acoustics will have a preamp of some sort. So this has got a 3-band EQ on the side, so I can kind of tweak the bass, middle and treble to kind of try and resemble what an acoustic in a room might sound like. But I always find when you record with the acoustic plugged in via the preamp on the acoustic, it's never the best sound. It's very sort of clicky sounding because you're picking up the strings under this point. Imagine you're strumming. When you strum by the bridge, you just get that real high-end sort of information. You don't get that. You just get this. So the signal that goes to your DAW or whatever you're going through is super thin and very bright, so it does take a lot of work to kind of make that usable. It's fine if you're recording and you just use it as a layer, but I would personally never use that as the acoustic sound of the channel. So a microphone really is the way to go if you want a good acoustic sound. 2 main mic types, dynamic mics and condenser mics. There's no right or wrong answer to this. Mic choice is completely personal. It's whatever you like the sound of. I prefer the sound of a condenser mic. A dynamic mic will pick up more of the kind of the attack of the guitar. A good condenser mic will pick up more of everything. Dynamic mics tend to be slightly more directional. So let's say I've got like an SM57 and it's right here pointing at towards the sound hole. This is where it's going to pick up most of its information from. It'll pick up a little bit of spill from here, but then the room, it's pretty much going to ignore because they're designed for close miking. Now, my favorite mic at the moment is this thing. This is the Lewitt LCT 440. Very inexpensive. I think these retail, I think on Thomann for like less than 200 euros. Really, really killer mics though. How Lewitt do it, I don't know, but they sound great. I was using this for a long time on my guitar amps, and now it's like acoustic. I use this for any acoustic recordings I do. This is my go-to mic. Mic placement, now that's where acoustic miking gets interesting. So I can see Jared over there at Amp Wales always puts his mic pointed at the 12th fret. That is probably one of my preferred things as well. So if you're using a good condenser mic, what this will do is it will capture the capsule in the middle is basically where the microphone picks up the signal. So it will capture what's in front of it, but a condenser mic will pick up space around it as well. So if you're using a condenser mic for acoustic guitar, it's really important you don't put it here, right next to the strings. You don't want that because it's going to pick up all of that fret noise. So what you're hearing this through is a shotgun mic actually, which isn't really the most ideal for recording acoustic guitar, but it does work. I don't actually use the shotgun mic for recording acoustic guitar, but you know, it's functional. A shotgun mic is essentially a very directional condenser mic. I use this because it just captures my talking, but obviously you're hearing the acoustic through that. I would maybe mix that signal with a good condenser mic, but I would always go for a condenser as my first point of call. So you obviously can put a mic anywhere. I could put this microphone right here on a stand, play, and it'll give me a sound. I could put it here on a stand, play, it'll record. Where I place this is going to be very important to what you hear. So the 12th fret is a very good starting point because really the 12th fret is exactly halfway between the nut and the bridge saddle. So this is the exact halfway point of where the string creates sound. So obviously if we play up here, we don't really get anything, and if we play behind the saddle, we don't really get anything. So really all we're hearing is from this contact point of the nut to this contact point here. So if we start with the mic smack bang in the middle of that, that's a pretty good place to start. So distance is also very important, depending on what you want from your acoustic recording. So if you have the mic really close, it's going to pick up more of this string noise and fretboard noise. And if it's further away, you're going to pick up more of the room space. Now, I can kind of roughly demo that by holding my acoustic close to the mic. So that's very direct, you're hearing that really sort of up close. And then if I wheel myself to the other side of the room, you can already hear me getting quieter. So that is basically the distance of a microphone. The distance you set things from a mic is very important in what it picks up. So obviously the further the mic is away, the more spacious and roomy the sound is. The closer it is, the less spacious and roomy, and the more of the actual guitar noise it picks up. Then you've got the left and right thing. So the 12th fret is a good place to start because that's smack bang in the middle. If we go this way, we're going to pick up more of the pick noise, but also the sound hole on an acoustic. A common mistake a lot of people make is, this is where the sound comes out of, so this is where I should put the mic. This is also where all the low frequencies collect. So if you put a mic directly in front of the sound hole, you're just going to get all this kind of booming low end, and just sort of, it'll be really hard to deal with basically. So you want to move away from the sound hole to get a more balanced sound, but the further away from the sound hole you go, the less low end you get. So you can kind of view it in two different ways. This is kind of how I think about mic and acoustic. I think of left and right, so left being the nut, my left, not yours, left being the nut, right being the bridge, as treble and bass. So the closer this side I go, the more bass I'm picking up. The closer this side I go, the more treble I'm getting. Because if I'm strumming, I'm picking up the high frequencies up here, and down here is where the low frequencies collect. Then we have the distance thing. So close, percussive, snappy, scratchy sounding. Great if you want that kind of sound. Good for finger picking because you get the nuances of the guitar. Further away, you get more of the spacious thing, more of the reverb and the room around the guitar. Because the guitar sound is not just the guitar, but it's the space it's in. Like I always say this about guitar amps, you know, your guitar amp isn't just the speaker, it's the room you put the speaker in. You don't hear your guitar amp with your head against the speaker cone, you hear it in a room. Acoustic guitar is no different, it's just we hear it from a different perspective than the microphone. That's what makes acoustic guitar hard to mic, because where I'm sitting, this could sound great. But to you guys, this could sound terrible because of the mic placement. So it's all subjective to where the mic is. But yeah, there's a few little tips about miking acoustics. So yeah, closer is scratchier, more of the pick noise, more of the fret noise. Further away is more space. Put the mic more this way, and obviously you get more brightness. This way you get more low end. Mix and match mics, try different mics, try combinations of mics. There's no right or wrong answer, just try and find a position and a combination that works for you. You might like a really bright sound mic'd really close, or you might like a really boomy sound mic'd far away. There's no real right or wrong answer to that. You don't even have to point it straight, you can come in at an angle. So if we were pointing this straight at the 12th fret like that, we're going to get a really balanced sound. Distance wise, my preferred distance is about that. What would we call that? 12 inches? 18? 18 maybe, about that. I like this kind of region for the sort of spatial element. I will go further away if I'm really kind of digging in with the strumming. But this kind of distance sort of works for me. What we can do is, if I want a little more high, low end, but I don't want to do this, I can do this. And I can angle the mic. So then I'm still pointing the capsule at the 12th fret, but the angle, we're just going to capture a little bit more of the low end stuff here. And likewise I can do the same thing if I want a bit more pick attack, I can do this. Still pointing at that midpoint, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the lows, but I'm also bringing the high end into the field of vision as well. So yeah, just have fun with it. Just try different things, experiment. That's the best way to find out what mic placement works for you. If I grab the acoustic, he thinks it's outside time. There's the answer to that question, and you are taking the acoustic on the dog walks. And then you load an acoustic guitar IR from 3 Sigma Audio that works great on piezo. Yeah, that's kind of right. You could use acoustic IRs as well if you recorded DI. The first thing I do if I'm ever recording a DI signal from an acoustic, ton of reverb. That's the first thing I always do. Marty McFly. How did you get involved in making videos with PMT? Dagan seems like a cool guy. Good question. So with PMT, I was doing videos, still am doing videos, for a company that is, I guess, an agency for guitar teachers. And they needed someone to make some videos with one of their partners, which was PMT. So yeah, I just started making some test videos, struck up a really good relationship with the guys at PMT, and then 2 years later I'm still making videos from. It's been just over 2 years now actually since we did our first video. I think we're somewhere in like the 70 to 80 video region. Dagan is a really cool guy. I've known Dagan for a long time. I first met him back in 2011. Didn't really keep in touch. We were sort of both busy doing different stuff, and then we kind of reconnected when I was doing stuff with PMT. Yeah, he's a really cool guy, really friendly, insanely tall. I'm tall, but Dagan is very tall. Same question, but about Blackstar. Same thing, exactly the same route. Same company I was freelancing for, still am freelancing for, making videos. Blackstar was one of the partners that we were working with, and yeah, again, 2 years later, I'm still using making videos for Blackstar. And yeah, I mean, Blackstar are a brand that have been insanely supportive to me in all aspects of my professional life as well. They're great guys, they're really good guys behind the scenes. But yeah, those guys have been insanely supportive for me personally as well. Outside of the stuff I do for their channel, they've been really good to me on my channel and all the stuff I do. Blackstar amps have kind of become my go-to thing recently. I say recently, over the last 2 years. So yeah, same thing. Got involved with those as a freelancer, and I'm still doing it now. I love doing stuff with the guys at Blackstar. It was a lot of fun. Still waiting for the video on restringing a floating trem. Yeah, I know, we do need to do that one. I need to restring some floating trems soon, I think. It's on my content list, so I'm sure we'll get to that one very, very soon. What was the other thing? Someone else asked me something about acoustic as well while we were on the topic of acoustic guitar. I'm sure there was one other question I had on it. Maybe I'm making that up. But the other question we had on the Facebook, the Instagram story, getting my social medias mixed up now. That's a sign of being old, when you get your social medias mixed up. One other question I did have was the difference between different fingerboard types. Now, this is a very fun topic. So I'm gonna put the acoustic down now. I think we talked about acoustic for an hour and 10 minutes. Let's talk about electric guitar. So someone asked me about fingerboard materials. So the exact question was, where's the question? Different types of fingerboards. So this question came from, come on Instagram. This question came from Tiafanka. So we're going to talk about different types of fingerboards. So his exact question that he DM'd me was, I've played on Rosewood fingerboards throughout my life. I recently tried an Ibanez with an Ebony fingerboard and it felt like a dream, so I wanted to explore more about fingerboards in detail. Now, we're going down the tonewood rabbit hole now. So, what do you guys think about different fingerboard materials? So obviously we've got, fingerboards can be made from anything. Most common, rosewood, ebony, and maple. Those are the top three. Those are the ones we see pretty much all the time. There are a bunch of new composite materials and sustainable woods getting used now, like Pau Ferro and what's the other one that's coming up a lot recently? Laurel. There's a lot of these more sustainable woods getting used for fingerboard production now. So that is a typical rosewood fingerboard. That's the usual, you know, the brown wood finish that we associate with a fingerboard. That's a maple fingerboard, the light wood, and we could go down this road, roasted maple. So it's a roasted maple fingerboard. Do I have a guitar with an ebony fingerboard? I don't know if I do. I need to look up the specs on one guitar in my collection because it might have an ebony fingerboard, but I can't remember. So one question a lot of people ask, and this is kind of hotly debated, is does fingerboard material... No, it's a rosewood one. I didn't think I had something with an ebony board. No, unfortunately I don't have anything with an ebony fretboard. But yeah, it comes up a lot where people will ask, you know, do fretboard materials make a difference to the tone? Now, to me, I mean, I think every element of the guitar affects the tone in some capacity. I mean, it has to, right? Everything that makes a guitar is, you know, a guitar is the sum of its parts. If you change something, you're going to change, even if it's a small part of the sound, it's going to change something. Fingerboard material, to me, there's a feel thing. Different fingerboards kind of feel different to me. So the most common one would be rosewood. This is our typical, and I'm just actually this might be ebony, the Schecter Nick Johnston. Does anyone know? I'm going to Google the specs for it. Yeah, rosewood is the standard. I think, you know, we all know rosewood. We've seen it on countless guitars. That's pretty much the most common fretboard material around. Oh, I do have an ebony fretboard. So yeah, the Nick Johnston is ebony. Okay, that changes the story then. We can talk about ebony fretboards. I'm going to try and keep this consistent with guitar choice now. So I'm not going to use my PRS to talk about rosewood. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use my Tokai Strat. Now, you have to take all of this with a pinch of salt because I think this is in tune. That's not in tune. So yeah, you have to take all of this kind of stuff with a pinch of salt because every element of the guitar changes the sound. Now obviously all of the guitars I'm going to talk about, I'm going to try and keep this Strat style because that's where I have the most variation in fretboard material here. So we'll keep this in the Strat ballpark. But obviously each of these guitars is going to sound slightly different because, number one, they're different guitars. But, you know, they've all got different pickups. They're all from different brands. They're made from different body woods. So there's going to be differences, but we'll see if we can pull something discernible out of this. So, Strat. This is my 1983 Tokai. Based very closely on a 63 Fender Strat. These pickups are Righteous Sound redwood pickups, which have been wound specifically to sound like a 63 Strat with a bit more kick in the bridge pickup. So this is as rosewood as it gets. This is real rosewood because it's an old guitar. Super curved 7 1/4 inch radius fretboard, pretty much the standard for what a Fender Strat should be, or a vintage Fender Strat. And it sounds like this. that's a pretty stratty sounding Strat. This isn't as cutting as some Fender Strats, because obviously I intentionally asked for the pickups to be voiced slightly darker on this. But that's pretty typical in, you know, what you'd expect from a, if we're talking 60s Strat, that's pretty bog standard. So Rosewood Fretboards, Rosewood is very balanced wood. It pretty much gives us what we expect from a guitar. That's why most, you know, when we talk Les Paul standards, Gibson SGs, Fender Strats, Rosewood is a fretboard that comes up time and time again. So it's very debated about what tonal differences fretboards give us. So I'm going to go extreme different now and go for maple. So the main argument with maple is people will say a maple fretboard is brighter, snappier. Now to me, personally, maple has a slightly different feel. It feels a little more slippery or slinky. When I play a Rosewood Strat, I kind of feel like I know where I am and the board is kind of giving me a little bit of resistance. Which maybe it's just the way I play, but the Rosewood kind of feels there's a bit of resistance there. Maple boards, super smooth, super kind of slippery. This is an unvarnished maple board, unlike the sort of varnished shiny types you'd see on like a Telecaster, for instance. So same thing, I'll just play on the neck pickup a little bit. That was the neck pickup you heard on the Strat with the Rosewood board as well. Usual amp, Blackstar Studio 10 6L6, Surfy Industries Surfy Bear Classic Spring Reverb, and the drive was the Red 7 Alchemy overdrive that we talked about a couple of streams ago. So this is the Jackson Adrian Smith with clean and drive. Maple fretboard, so it's for you guys to decide. If we go by what the internet thinks, we should hear a brighter, snappier sound. That's a maple board on the neck pickup. Do you hear any difference? Now obviously, like I said, both guitars sound different, so obviously there's going to be differences because this is a different guitar. Maple boards typically are meant to have that snappier, brighter sound. Now, on the subject of maple, we've got roasted maple. Roasted maple is a wood type that is very popular at the moment, especially in the more boutique guitar world. Roasted maple is maple, but it's been roasted. And the reason for the roasting is it dries the wood out, makes the wood harder, and basically taking all the moisture out of the wood makes it more stable. So if you're playing a lot of gigs, it's a much more stable kind of neck configuration, handles temperature changes much better, and those kind of things. So we should hear similar results from a roasted maple neck. I really like the feel of roasted maple, very kind of smooth, very sleek. This guitar does sound brighter, I can tell you that for a fact, because these are very bright pickups. So again, you'll instantly hear a difference in this guitar, which reinforces what I was saying about every guitar is going to sound slightly different anyway. So yeah, that instantly sounds brighter anyway, because this is just a really bright voiced guitar. Final fretboard material, ebony. Ebony is a much darker wood. This is a really good example of ebony, actually. This is a really dark ebony. This does have fretboard markers, but they're inlaid brass hollow rings, so they're very hard to see on camera, but they are there. So ebony is typically used, I mean, the ebony is used for a lot of different guitars, but one of the big kind of ebony guitars would be like a 70s Les Paul Custom. So ebony to me, I mean, other people out there probably have different views on this, but ebony to me has always been like a brighter rosewood. So it's kind of the same thing as rosewood, gives you the same kind of balanced tone, but with a little bit more kind of top end to it. So here's how an ebony fretboarded Strat sounds. So yeah, there's 4 different fretboard materials. Let me know what you think, because obviously every guitar sounds different, every guitar has different qualities, and you know, there's always going to be things that don't sound like others. I think there is a tonal difference between each type of fretboard, but I mean, does the fretboard material make the guitar tone? I don't think so. I think the guitar tone comes from a combination of everything. It's the fretboard, it's the pickups, it's the woods, it's the hardware, it's everything. Everything combined makes the guitar what we hear. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. Hope that clears up some of the basically the information you wanted to know about Tearthanker. Hopefully that helps you on your fretboard journey and helps you kind of decide what you're looking for in a fretboard. Ebony is nice. Ebony kind of feels a bit more luxurious, I think. When you get an ebony board, it kind of feels a little bit classier. I'm a big roasted maple fan just because I like this has got roasted maple on the rear of the neck. I like the feel of it. But the ebony board is nice. I mean, to be honest, I like all fretboards. I've never picked a guitar purely for its tone based on the fretboard choice. It's more of the whole package for me. I think if this guitar had a maple fretboard and it sounded and played like this, I would still love the guitar just as much as I do with an ebony fretboard. So yeah, I guess it's just personal preference, but there is a tonal thing, but you could argue that that tonal thing is everything on the guitar. You could have, you know, I could change the fretboard on this to maple and it could sound better than it does now. Or I could change it to maple and it could sound worse. Or, best case scenario is I change it to maple and it doesn't sound any different because it's the whole guitar. So yeah, it's a rabbit hole of a question. Pretty much what the internet and the YouTube comment section was designed for arguing in about. So yeah, get your arguments in. What's your views on different fretboard materials? So yeah, it is 9:30, guys. So I'm gonna get out of here now. Thank you all for hanging out again as usual. It's been fun. Thanks to everyone for getting involved in the chat as always. I'm just making sure I've not missed anything. Now, okay, so actually my chat isn't updating on my end. So I can see you guys have actually commented a lot more on on the live stream, I can see comments on my phone, but I can't see them on my computer. So I need to try and fix that one. But yes, thank you guys as always for hanging out, talking fretboard material and acoustic guitar stuff. It's been fun as always. Next week, same time as always, 8 PM UK time. There's some links down below in the description where you guys can support the channel. If you guys want to follow me on socials, you know, share the videos with friends or make a donation to the channel, all of that is much appreciated, and obviously it all goes straight to helping the channel continue and helping it continue to grow and to help me make more and more content for you guys. So yes, plenty of cool stuff on the way, plenty more videos, and yeah, I will see you guys very soon. See you guys next week. There's a new video coming out hopefully tomorrow, once YouTube finish processing it on my laptop right here. There's gonna be a new video coming out where I look at a bunch of cool pedals with my friend Alex from Xander Effects, so keep a watch out for that as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Go check out some of the links down below in the description, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday at the same time. Thank you as always.